My name is Michael Turner, and I've been driving a taxi for almost 12 years. Most of that time I've worked in rural areas, far from the city lights, small towns, farming roads, forgotten highways where the night feels heavier and every sound travels farther than it should. People assume driving outside the city is safer, but the truth is simple. In the countryside, nobody hears anything you don't survive to tell. This happened 3 years ago, but I still avoid that stretch of road after sunset. The call. It was early October, cold, damp, the kind of night where headlights seem swallowed by the darkness instead of cutting through it. I'd just dropped off my last passenger near Hilford, a tiny rural settlement surrounded by endless fields and forests, when I got a call through the app. Pickup location, Old Mill Road. Drop-off point, Red Creek Bridge. No house number, no details, just a pin on the map, in the middle of farmland. I almost declined, but work is work. I accepted the ride. 10 minutes later, I turned off the main road and onto Old Mill Road, a narrow, cracked strip of asphalt surrounded by farmland that looked abandoned long before the road did. No lights, no houses, just miles of fields and dark shapes of trees bending toward the road. As I slowed down near the pin, I expected to see a house or at least a mailbox. Instead, I saw a man standing on the roadside, alone. No flashlight, no phone in hand, just standing still, staring into the fields. I rolled down the window. "You order a ride?" I asked. He turned his head slowly. "Yes," he said quietly. His voice was calm, too calm. He got into the back seat without another word. The passenger. He looked around 40, wearing a dark jacket, jeans, muddy boots. His hands were dirty, like he'd been digging or handling soil. Not unusual for farm country, but combined with his silence, it made something twist in my stomach. We drove for a few minutes before he finally spoke. "Do you always pick people up out here?" "Depends," I said. "Not many riders in these parts." He nodded slowly. "You shouldn't stop for everyone." His tone wasn't threatening, it sounded like advice, but the kind that comes too late. I checked the mirror. He was watching the fields pass by through the window, face empty, unreadable. "You live around here?" I asked, trying to lighten the mood. "No," he said. Then after a moment, "Not anymore." Something about the way he said it made the back of my neck prickle. The long road. The road to Red Creek Bridge was 20 minutes through complete darkness. No houses, no barns, nothing but trees leaning close to the road, their branches forming strange shapes in the headlights. About halfway there, the passenger leaned forward slightly. "Do you ever feel," he asked, "like someone sitting behind you even when you're alone?" I forced a laugh. "Not really." He didn't even smile. "Most people don't notice. They don't check the back seat before they drive. Don't check the mirrors. Don't listen for breathing that isn't theirs." My grip tightened on the steering wheel. I checked the mirror again. He hadn't moved, but something in his expression had changed, like he was remembering something unpleasant. "Did something happen to you?" I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he said, "Take the next left. The bridge is close." But there was no road on the left, just grass and trees. "There's no turn here," I said. "Up ahead," he replied. We drove in silence for another minute before he suddenly leaned forward again. "Stop the car." His voice was sharper now. "We're not there yet," I said. "Stop." It wasn't a shout, but something in his tone made me obey. My foot hit the brake. We came to a stop on an empty stretch of road with forest on both sides. The man leaned forward, almost whispering, "Don't look in the forest." So of course, my instinct made me look, and that's when I saw it. The figure between the trees, just barely visible, stood a shape, not moving, not hiding, just standing. At first I thought it was a tree stump, but then I saw the shoulders, the outline of a head, and the fact that it was turned toward the road. I blinked. It didn't move. My chest tightened. "What is that?" I whispered. The passenger said nothing. I reached for the headlight switch, thinking maybe the high beams would reveal it better, but he suddenly reached forward and grabbed my shoulder. "Don't." His voice cracked, the first real emotion he'd shown. "Don't make it look at us." A chill ran through me. "Is someone following you?" I asked. His breathing quickened slightly. "Drive," he said quietly. "Please, just drive." I didn't argue. I hit the gas. For the next 5 minutes, neither of us spoke. My hands trembled on the wheel. Finally, the trees thinned, and the old Red Creek Bridge appeared ahead. "We're here?" I asked. "Yes," he said. I pulled over. He reached for the door handle, then paused. "Thank you for stopping for me," he said. Something in his voice sounded like a farewell. "I'll walk from here." "Wait," I said. "Is someone out there? Do you need help?" He shook his head. "What's out there doesn't look for help," he said. "It looks for witnesses." Before I could respond, he stepped out and walked toward the bridge, not across it, but down the embankment, into the darkness. Within seconds, he vanished from sight. I sat there frozen for nearly a minute. Then my phone buzzed. Rating: 5 stars. "Thank you for the ride." I looked at the screen. The ride had ended automatically, 5 minutes before he stepped out of the car. Meaning, according to the app, he hadn't been in the car for the last 5 minutes of the trip. After I reported the trip as suspicious the next day, the support team checked the account. It was registered to a name: Daniel Moore, address, none phone number, disconnected. And the final detail: the account had been inactive for 3 years. The date of the last ride request was the night a man named Daniel Moore went missing near Red Creek Bridge. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't. But I also know what I saw standing between the trees, and I know I picked someone up that night. Someone who needed to get away from that place. Someone who didn't want me looking into the forest. Since then, I always check my back seat before I drive. Always. And I avoid the old rural roads after sunset, especially the one by Red Creek Bridge. I don't know how long I stood there on the empty country road after the passenger disappeared into the tree line. My headlights carved a narrow tunnel of pale light into the darkness, and everything beyond that light felt still too still, like the whole forest was holding its breath. I called out once, "Hey, you all right?" No answer. Only the slow rustle of leaves. I should have driven away. Any normal driver would have. But something about the way he'd left the car, so silently, without even opening the door, fully gnawed at me. As if he'd been pulled out, rather than stepped out. I grabbed the flashlight from the glove compartment and stepped into the cold night. The forest swallowed the sound of my footsteps immediately. I couldn't even hear my own breathing right. I moved a few meters in, following the faint path he seemed to take. "Sir, if you're lost, just answer me. I can help you get back to town." Still nothing. I was about to turn back when I saw something glinting under the beam of my flashlight. A phone. His phone. The screen was cracked, dirt smeared across the back. But that wasn't the part that made my stomach twist. Someone had carved a shallow line across the casing. A single word: stay. I felt a pressure behind me, like someone standing too close. I spun around, light cutting through the branches. No one, but the woods no longer felt empty. I backed away until I could see the outline of my taxi through the trees. When I reached the car, the driver's door, my door was open. I was almost sure I had closed it. My flashlight shook in my hand as I looked inside. On the passenger seat lay something that definitely hadn't been there before, a folded piece of paper. My hands were trembling when I opened it. Inside, written in shaky but unmistakably human handwriting, was a message. "You picked him up too." I felt a cold pulse roll through me. The message wasn't written with dirt or charcoal. It looked like it had been written with something darker and dried. I dropped the paper instantly. My instincts screamed at me to get in the car and drive, but my legs refused to move. It felt like someone was watching, waiting. Finally, I forced myself into the driver's seat and slammed the door shut. The interior light flicked off, leaving only the dashboard glow and the dim sweep of headlights on the road. The forest seemed to lean closer. I turned the key. The engine didn't start. It didn't even click. Dead. Completely dead. My breath caught. I tried again. Nothing. In the silence, I heard something. A soft, rhythmic sound. Breathing. Not mine. It came from the back seat. Slow. Wet. Unsteady. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. I reached slowly toward the door handle, not daring to breathe too loudly. Then the breathing stopped. Completely. The silence that followed was worse. And then, right by my ear, so close I felt the air move. A whisper. Drive. The engine roared to life on its own. Every hair on my arms rose as I gripped the wheel with shaking hands. I didn't look back. I didn't speak. I just pressed the gas, and the car shot forward, the road curving away from the trees, as if the forest itself was letting me go. I drove until the sky began to pale with dawn. When I finally stopped in the first populated town I found, I forced myself to look into the back seat. Empty, no signs of anyone, no footprints, no smell, no indentation on the seats. The only thing left was the folded paper on the passenger seat. I didn't touch it, not again, but I read it one last time before leaving the car behind. You picked him up too. I don't know who he is. I don't know why he gets into taxis on lonely roads outside the city, and I don't know why he disappears into the trees without leaving a trace. But I know one thing. I'm not driving rural routes anymore. Not at night. Not alone. Never again.